Hi, this is Stephen, and this is Astro Indicator Update, and this is episode 44, and today is Monday, June 22nd. So what are we going to do today? This is a day late. I'm going to talk about my possible change in schedule later, but we'll get into some astrology and some markets here very shortly. We're going to look at Malcolm X's chart just briefly, just a short little comment. We'll look at the existing transits currently that apply to everyone worldwide. And today is a Neptune station. It occurs later tonight, but it's really being experienced over a several-day period. Today, June 22nd. An article that I liked, I thought it was well written, called Smart Societies, Stupid People, and we'll look at these particular markets and their astrological key dates. So today is, again, Monday, June 22nd. Here is Neptune right now. At this moment, which is in the afternoon, it is not yet technically in retrograde, but it will be this evening, and it will be for a number of months. One thing I have not pointed out in many of my previous videos is that when there is a station of an outer planet, sometimes in relation to the markets, that in itself can indicate a turning point, a reversal in trend sometimes. I feel that that's more the case with Pluto right there, and with Uranus than with Neptune, but we'll have to see. Sometimes it can apply to the precious metals and to silver more so than the other markets when Neptune station occurs. So, Neptune in itself kind of deals with idealism, ideologies. On an individual level, we can be a little unclear about our direction, and can bring in some confusion, etc. But in looking at this transit formation that we have, again, that applies to everyone, it's clearly what is called a bucket pattern, where all the planets are in one side of the chart, 180-degree section. And then you have another element in the middle over here, kind of representing the handle of this bucket, okay? I could have drawn that in, and we have the asteroid Juno up here. The planet that is leading this formation is Pluto. And in some respects, I can kind of see this reflecting the turmoil, the changes, the transformations, crisis that the world is experiencing. I've talked about Pluto's position relative to the U.S. chart, how it is opposite Mercury, but the fact that it is leading this, that's what it's often called. There's a number of, in the terminology of astrology, a leading planet can mean a number of different things. But when it is sort of leading formation like this, it is emphasized. And so this, I think, is representing a lot of the crisis that we have, that we see in the world. The Juno element, I'm going to be brief here and not get too carried away, is in opposition to Lilith, okay? Lilith and Chiron. And, this could represent many things, but Juno in itself, she was married to Jupiter. They were always fighting. It was a power struggle between the two of them. And you could just kind of say that we are in the midst of power struggles, maybe more so than normal. And there is an element of discord, and with Lilith, we have a battle kind of going on a number of different levels. So just a comment there on the station. I'm going to briefly comment on Malcolm X. I read his book many, many years ago, the autobiography of Malcolm X. I found it fascinating. He's a fascinating person, someone, generally speaking, I admire, and I'll tell you why. He essentially seemed like someone who really came to his own conclusions and based his view of the world kind of on his own experience, but he was open to changing those views up until the time of his assassination. And I thought I admired that. And I was kind of curious about his position of Neptune in his chart. Because sometimes I've been looking at a number of charts of Indian religious leaders, spiritual leaders, and seeing, the position of Neptune, Pluto, Uranus in particular. And very often, Neptune is strong in a person's chart when they hold fast to a particular ideology, or if they're very spiritually oriented. Those are two very different things, I think. And the thing is that I even see people in politics who have a very strong Neptune, and I regard it in their charts as being mostly manifest or expressing itself as sort of a excessive fanaticism with an ideology, or they're kind of spaced out people in some respect. Well, here we have Malcolm X, who was kind of a representative, a leader of the Nation of Islam in the 50s and the 60s. And oddly enough, his Neptune really isn't that strong in his chart. In fact, he has a lot of, on an elemental level, he has a lot of earth signs. Capricorn ascendant, a number of elements in Taurus. He does have Vesta rising before his sun on the day he was born, and sometimes Vesta can be someone who's very devout in a certain respect, and he was kind of he was sort of the captain, standard bearer of the Nation of Islam for many years, and then he parted ways with his religious leader and shifted into Sunni, became a Sunni Muslim, and at the very end of his life, he became more unifying and global in his outlook, and less focused, or I don't know if I can quite say that, but he really admired what he saw when he traveled around the world, and he saw that Islams of all skin colors were working as one to try to promote their faith, and that kind of shifted his own philosophy quite a bit. But in this chart, I'm going to close here quickly. Neptune isn't that strong. It almost what stands out is he seems very pragmatic, very disciplined, devout in his determination to improve himself in many respects. He was definitely a fighter, and oddly enough, he has this kind of he was kind of traditional in some respects, but with Mars on his descendant along with Lilith, I mean, this guy, he was more than willing to, fight for what he believed in. So anyway, that's kind of, I just was curious to see where Neptune was in his chart, because it's been coming up frequently in a lot of politicians' chart, and it gets expressed in many different ways. I mean, Bill Gates has a strong Neptune in his chart. So you can go back and listen to that video. So anyway, I just wanted to make that brief comment observation on Malcolm X. This article came out in Zero Hedge recently, and it was well written. Just because it was well written, I liked it, and it gets into, some people are calling it the Cerveza bug that we've got going on here. But it was authored by this guy named Jeffrey Tucker, American Institute of Economic Research. He decided to look at a book on virology that's kind of for beginners, and it really astonished him the things that he read that were not applied to the to our national response to the pandemic. And so that's why he's calling it Smart Society, Stupid People. Let's see. Let's see if I want to read anything here. He talks about, I'll read this couple of paragraphs. If you read the above carefully, you now know more than you would know from watching 50 TED Talks on viruses by Bill Gates. He quoted from this textbook that he was reading. Though having thrown hundreds of millions of dollars into cobbling together some global plan to combat microbes, his own understanding seems not to have risen above a cooties theory of run away and hide. There is another level of virus comprehension that came to be observed in the 50s and then codified in the 70s. For many viruses, not everyone has to catch them to become immune, and not everyone needs a vaccine if there is one. Immunity is achieved when a certain percentage of the population has contracted some form of the virus, with symptoms or without, and then the virus effectively dies. That's the summation of what this fellow learned from reading a textbook on virology. So I found that really interesting. He's kind of emphasizing this herd immunity thing, gives you a history lesson, and emphasizes this idea that over time societies learn things by trial and error, and sometimes that wisdom from history gets thrown out the window when you have sort of, in his estimation, stupid people suddenly running the show. Read the article if you want. It's well written. I found it at Zero Hedge, but you can find it here. Okay, let's look at some charts here. Again, this is Monday, close of Monday. We have been Dow Jones Industrials. I followed the technicals. I combine the astrology. The key astrology date for this specific market are these vertical lines I've drawn in here, okay? The Dow Jones Industrial right now is the toughest one to analyze because so much political influence is involved in manipulating the market. So follow the technicals primarily, okay? I do see some astrology influencing this market. We saw a turning point right here. There's not much astrology going on for the next month in this chart. We do have Neptune station today. We'll see what happens. This green line is still a key support level, 50-day moving average. Coming up, again, there's just not much in the astrology to hang your hat on. Maybe out here on July 2nd, which is a Thursday, I think. I think the markets might be closed on July 3rd, which is the Friday before, the 4th of July. So play the technicals here. We'll see how it operates. I really don't think that the Neptune station is going to influence this market too much, but we could very easily come down to this support level. The S&P 500 already has. If we break below it, we could be going lower, okay? But the amount of money that they're printing, that they're buying, corporate bonds, whatever, they're going to try to keep this market up. Okay, let's take a look at gold here. Gold had a very interesting day, and I think it's partly the station, as I've alluded to, and my notes are falling on the floor, and it's partly what happened in the silver market. This whole concept of intermarket influences happens with gold and silver. You see it happening with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Because this big gap that you see here, there just is not a lot of astrology going on, but we have broken out of this triangle formation, I think, very clearly. And this is today's, we were up, I don't know, I forgot, $14 or something. We are not overbought by any stretch. We have a crossover in the MACD. We could very frequently, you see what's called a back test, where the market comes down and touches this support line right here, or this horizontal line. We could see that. Again, over time, I've said over and over again, as we get into July, the astrology is much stronger for gold. But coming up, I see, it wouldn't be at all surprised for us to come back down a little bit, but we do have fairly strong energies on June 30th and July 1st, and then into July 9th, and then later in the month. So we've weathered this storm, if you're a gold investor, of a sideways trading market. This Neptune station and what happened in silver was enough bullish energy possibly to get us to move out of this channel that we've been into. So watch it carefully. I think I'm much more confident as we move into July. I'm going to show you that this also has affected the miners, the gold mining stocks. So this is GDXJ. It's the junior miners. This is pretty powerful. When you break out like this of a pattern that's been forming, bumping up against some resistance, and then boom, we're out of it. Again, we may see what's called a back test, but there is a lot of open space up here. We're not overbought at all. In fact, we got a crossover. This market could go higher, no doubt. Okay, silver. Silver back here on the 19th, which was Friday, had an astrology line. It very often, they may not express themselves in a big, huge way, but you can see the beginning of a move. And this is a prime example back here. You see the beginning of the move right on a key astrological date, and then the momentum starts to pick up. Silver kind of closed at its low today, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. It doesn't have a lot of supporting astro energy, I could call it, over the next few weeks. So we may just end up kind of trading sideways here. But with gold having broken above its resistance, that is going to have a reciprocal effect on silver. Okay, Bitcoin. Look at here. Neptune station. Hard to say. We didn't really have a strong Bitcoin date today. However, just like on gold and silver, when we look at Ethereum has kind of a strong energy today and tomorrow. So that may be taking place, showing up in the Bitcoin chart. So the next key date in Bitcoin is June 29th and 30th. That's actually this line. It's disregards kind of getting covered up down here. So it's June 29th and 30th. And then July 6th. Okay? Bitcoin also, the later you get into July, the more potent the astrology is. So this looks like a breakout to me. Let's see if we get some follow through. It may kind of trade sideways until we get into the dates that you see here. Here we are, Ethereum. Here, very often, I have to cut my, forecasting, give myself a little slack. Sometimes I'm a day off. Look over here. I was a day off of this big move. A day off here. It was a day off here as well on this. And so I think this energy in the cryptos was coming from Ethereum, and big, huge move. Maybe 5% move in Ethereum, and the forecast was for it to happen tomorrow. And then we come out here, and I'm not sure why it's not showing up down below, but the next date in Ethereum is July. Well, it's coming up here actually. Oh no. It's July 2nd, which is a Friday. July 1st, July 2nd, Thursday, Friday. And then in the middle of July, like Bitcoin, it gets stronger. So this is another thing I want to point out in this video, which I had to go through today, is that, okay, I saw this coming up for Ethereum. Ethereum overnight was trading way up. Now, the lesson I'm going to sort of emphasize here is that you have to play the technicals for every stock, they will be influenced by, gold miners are going to be influenced by gold, obviously. But still, you have to look at the chart individually and play it individually to a certain extent. And it was hugely apparent with Ethereum today and its corresponding the Ethereum fund, the Grayscale fund that you can buy, from your broker, through your broker. Because let's look at Grayscale's Ethereum fund on this next page and see what happened. Here we've got Ethereum up. It was up overnight, up all day, okay? But what happened to Grayscale's Ethereum Trust? It had already blown through some resistance areas, had hit some buy stops, got way overextended, was sort of trading in a declining wedge here until the day that wedge failed right there. Sell stops were hit, and this sucker was down 25% at one point today. Now, the smart money came in at the end here, who had some extra cash. They saw all this support zones, coming together right in this area, 50-day moving average, several trend lines, etc. And they started to buy it. They didn't buy it back in a huge way, just above, some of those trend lines. So in contrast to Ethereum, we just looked at, that was up like 6%. Here's an Ethereum fund that was down 20, I think, at the end of the day. So my take on this, and this is not trading advice, my take is that Ethereum, like Bitcoin, has a lot of fundamental positives in its future. Ethereum, particularly if you want to do some research in cryptos, which really I haven't for a few years. I haven't got into the details like some, real crypto people are. But, Ethereum is at the basis of what they call decentralized finance. Okay, and that is going to be, growing considerably over the next few years. And Ethereum is at the center of that transformation in our financial world. So go on the web, learn about decentralized finance, and see that Ethereum is kind of leading the pack in that in those new changes. So this could be a buying opportunity if you've got some extra money. So look at this. Compare it to the Ethereum chart. Make your own decision. This is not technical advice. This is not trading advice. Okay, U.S. dollar. This is the important support line right here for the U.S. dollar. Okay, if it breaks through that level, we are coming down to this area. But even though that doesn't look like a real sharp drop off, the channel that it's been bouncing back and forth, between is 2 years old, and so to break through this support level is just key. So it's going to affect so many other things: inflation rate, precious metals. Watch this closely. These two astro dates, the one that we just hit on the 17th and the one coming up on July 7th, they're actually the same energy. I won't get into why. It deals with retrograde Venus. But we could see a lot of volatility. At the end of the day, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we are below this support level. So let's just watch it closely. Play the technical here. Obviously, it's been hit 3 times just within the last, 6 months. So that's it for today. Again, my name is Stephen. I've been researching financial astrology for 25 years. I have a master's degree in psychology, actually transpersonal psychology. If you have a question, that is my email. I accept Bitcoin donations. And at times, I do this once a week. Sometimes I kind of like to look at important figures in the world. I did Malcolm X today very briefly. Sometimes I can't come up with anyone. I know that my viewership drops a lot when I'm just doing the markets. So I would recommend subscribing, because there are times when I'll do this every 2 weeks rather than once a week. In addition, I'm also designing a website related to Astro Indicator. And at a certain point, that may supplant my YouTube. I may just announce that on YouTube and direct you to my website. But I'm playing it by ear. So, if I don't publish on a Sunday or Monday, I might be doing a 2-week thing. And if you want to get notified, then subscribe and, do all the other things everyone encourages you to do if you like the video. So anyway, thank you for listening today. Hope to be back fairly soon, possibly on Sunday. We do have, if you're into precious metals and Bitcoin, and I think the next 6 weeks are going to be 6 weeks to to watch closely. So anyway, that's it for today. We'll check in later. Thanks for listening.